What up? It's your boy T-Bear here. The reaction. Today is Wrestle Wednesday. I thought it'd be a cool little reaction, wrestling reaction to do, video to react to for Halloween week as well too. It's 10 seriously bizarre TNA tag teams. You know, I've been wanting to do this for a minute, but I didn't get a chance to, but now I'm doing it now. You know, TNA wrestling has some crazy tag team matchup as well too. As well as unholy with some crazy unholy alliance as well too. Well, then that, let's see these 10 seriously bizarre TNA tag teams. Let's get it.
You can rag on TNA for a bunch of things, and trust me, we have, but their tag team division was usually pretty damn good. Usually, but not always. Because for every AMW, LAX, MCMG, or any other acronym you can think of that achieves
shout out to MCMG and WE now.
Success, there are other teams that didn't quite work out and were mostly notable for their weirdness. Whether they were one-offs, genuine contenders, or actual honest-to-goodness tag team champions, the following...
Lord. Who remember when they actually had a little play on the jersey shirt with, shout out to, you know, Robert Stone, that was Robert Stone right there, when he was Robbie E and he had Cookie with him, yeah.
Was certainly strange for one reason or another. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 bizarre TNA tag teams. Join us. Number 10, D-Ray 3000 and Shark Boy. The Masked Shark Boy was TNA's resident cult hero in the summer of 2004, having been on the roster since TNA's 7th weekly pay-per-view, when he was joined by another wacky character. D-Ray 3000, named after Outcast's Andre 3000, whom he closely resembled, was thrown together with the X Division star on a whim. The duo simply instructed
it's way before I started watching TNA. Whoa.
To be funny in segments and matches. Not many of their opponents feared the Finn and the Fro, but they had a decent little run as an undercard squad, picking up a few wins on the low-priority Explosion show, and were involved in a storyline where their contracts were acquired by Goldilocks. Unsurprisingly, the bloke who looked like a famous musician and the boy who thought he was a shark didn't really come close to the tag team titles. The whole experiment was a way to get some fun gimmicks on television and give two hard-working but undersized performers something to do, so mission accomplished, I guess. The team of D-Ray 3000 and Shark Boy lasted for about 5 months all told, but I'll be damned if they weren't the best 5 months in pro wrestling history. Number 9, Phi Delta Slam.
I can't
Imagine
remember
if the Public Enemy went to college and had no talent or charisma, and only got hired because they drove head booker Dusty Rhodes around Florida. That, in a nutshell, was Phi Delta Slam, the longtime jobber tag team that showed up in TNA in early 2005, were heavily involved in a storyline, and then disappeared when their nepotistic benefactor fell out of power. Managed by Trinity, the main thing Big Tilly and Bruno Sassy were involved in was an angle that revolved around the battle between Trinity and Tracy Brooks to become the American Dream's sole assistant. This was the era where Dusty and the two women would hang out and flirt on the back of a pickup truck, so just go with it, alright? The worst thing about Phi Delta Slam, besides their shoddy ring work, was their complete inability to live up to their frat house gimmick. They were just a couple of big boys who came out with paddleboards. Needless to say, it didn't get over, and they were gone within the space of 3 matches. The tandem actually resurfaced many years later as Big Rocco and Sally Boy, the personal security of the
okay, yeah, I definitely remember them too now. Oh yeah, I remember when they came back as that.
Mafia. Number 8, the Flying Elvises. I'm caught in a trap. I can't walk out. That's where he came from. Because I loathe your TNA, baby. The early days of the then Nashville-based promotion could be best described as throw everything at the wall, see what sticks, and hope we don't run out of money by next week's show. One of the genius ideas designed to appeal to the Tennessee fans was the Flying Elvises, aka the Flying Elvis Impersonators. And you'll never guess what? TNA sent these guys out to compete in the promotion's very first match, and they put them over. Sonny Siaki, Jorge Estrada, and Jimmy Yang were all plenty capable.
Oh, okay, so it was Jose Estrada was the other one, and I thought it was Sonny Siaki, and of course Jimmy Yang, aka Jimmy Wang Yang,
ring and could have a decent match, yes, but anyone wrestling in a jumpsuit and adopting the mannerisms of the King are immediately going to be compared with the Honky Tonk Man. And there really was no comparison. Initially a stable, Sonny eventually split away from the group, smart man, leaving Estrada and Yang to tag up a few more times before Yang also realized that the idea was nothing but a hound dog, leaving Estrada and his new manager Priscilla to beat the dead horse by himself. No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Jorge Estrada.
Number 7.
Jorge Estrada. I'm about to say. It was, yeah, I'm about to say. Jose Estrada was the one that got injured from Edge's first match.
AJ Styles and Vince Russo. Death, taxes, and Vince Russo booking himself in the main event. These are all inevitabilities in life, and so it was no surprise to see Vinny Russo step into the squared circle for TNA in 2003. The leader of Sports Entertainment Extreme, that's SEX because there's nothing Russo loved more than a crap pun, wrestled 3 main event matches for TNA in 2003, including one where he teamed with AJ Styles. One of the most talented up-and-coming workers in the world there, doing his best to carry the bloke that penned David Arquette's WCW title win. What a life! Russo, who had been managing the Phenomenal One, suffered the first in-ring loss of his career at only the 11th time of asking when he fell to Dusty Rhodes and Jeff Jarrett. Naturally, the reigning NWA World Heavyweight Champion ate the pin, bro. It's always odd to see someone as athletically limited as Russo attempt to do anything in the ring, but this was such a strange phase in AJ's career too, as he was quite clearly somebody TNA were going to build around, but hadn't quite put the main event puzzle together yet. Number 6, Team Pac-Man.
It's
hard to fault TNA for using a celebrity in a prominent spot as they tried to get some mainstream attention and more eyes on their fledgling product. It is easy to fault TNA, however, for hiring controversial NFL player Adam Pac-Man Jones and making him one half of their tag team champions. Jones was suspended after he had paralyzed a man in a strip club shooting when Jeff Jarrett, a fan of Pac-Man's Tennessee Titans team, suggested he come in for a brief run. Unable to do anything physical due to a clause in his NFL contract, Jones was to strictly compete in tag matches alongside Ron Killings. And by compete, I mean stand on the ring apron for most of the entire match, besides tossing a football or executing a leapfrog. Team Pac-Man beat Sting and Kurt Angle of all people for the tag straps, defending them twice on TV before Jones was replaced by Consequences Creed. A disgusting promotional tactic and a total misfire in the ring.
Funny you see that now, because you know, R-Truth and Xavier Count beefing a little bit somewhat because Xavier wouldn't left him hanging when he got jumped by Final Testament.
Jones was paid a ton of money and added nothing to the TNA product. Number 5, Jim Duggan and Moondog Spot. We all love a bit of nostalgia in wrestling, and what better example of that than the human embodiment of the industry's good old days, Jim Duggan. Hell, Hacksaw could show up on TV tomorrow, pumping his 2x4 in the air and giving it a big ho, and I would be chanting, USA, USA, in a heartbeat. No surprise then to see Duggan show up in TNA for a cup of coffee in 2003, though it was a bit of a shocker to see Moondog Spot come in with him. Celebrating the start of the Iraq War with a patriotic victory over above-average Mike Sanders and Glenn You Have Drawn $0 Gilberti, the Madcap tag team looked very much like relics of a bygone era. I mean, the two had actually wrestled each other in WWE almost 16 years ago to the day. Duggan at least had the charisma and the good sense to hide his softening physique with a pair of dungarees, but Spot looked absolutely awful for the short time he was out there, in what was one of his last matches before suffering a heart attack in the ring and passing away 8 months later. Number 4, Shark Boy and New Jack. As we have already established, Shark Boy was something of a utility player that TNA could plug into wherever they saw fit. Need someone to team with D-Ray 3000? Call Shark Boy. Need someone to team with Mad Mikey? Call Shark Boy. Need someone to team with Curry Man? Call Shark Boy. Need someone to impersonate Stone Cold Steve Austin? You get the idea. And who better than Shark Boy to team
Crash Holly
up with ultra-violent ECW icon New Jack? TNA astutely played up the odd couple nature of their alliance, with New Jack making it very clear he didn't want anything to do with no damn fish and referring to the man in the mask as a hemorrhoid. The two had some amusing backstage segments together, which included Shark Boy insisting his partner jump into a paddling pool, the two playing Twister backstage, and one where he gave New Jack his very own shark mask. The sum total of their in-ring output, however, was 2 big L's, one of which came in something called the Anarchy Alliance Tournament. I mean, number 1 contender is fine, guys. Number 3, the Dups. The Dups weren't exactly a TNA original or anything, with the cartoonishly stereotypical redneck gimmick having been used in WCW, on the Indies, and even in WWE's developmental system for a bit, before showing up on TNA's very first show. Bo Dupp and Stan Dupp, a young Trevor Murdoch, or
Yeah, it is
Holiday,
him.
if you prefer, were
It is
managed
him,
by
yo.
Fluff Dupp and did all the classic bits like implying
Fluff.
there was an incestuous relationship between cousins Stan and Fluff. That is pretty messed up, if you ask me. Inaugural winners of the positively insane Dupp Cup, the team were deeply unpleasant in almost every way and are mostly remembered for refusing to wrestle the Rainbow Express because they were so uncomfortable with their alternative lifestyle. Thankfully, they were only around for a few shows, though Bo did stick around for a couple of extra singles matches. TNA were going all in on toilet humor and controversy in those dark early days, and the Dupps pretty much epitomized the worst of both worlds. When considering acts to use for their launch, I wish TNA would have passed up the opportunity to feature these hillbilly no-hopers. Number 2, Black Rain and Relic. I feel like I could have just said number 2, Black Rain and Relic. You get the idea. And moved swiftly onto the top spots, but we are gluttons for punishment here at Cultaholic HQ. Black Rain and Relic was the unholy union of the alter egos of Dustin Rhodes and Johnny Stamboli. Brought together by, I assume, their mutual hatred of good creative, the lamentable characters were managed by James Mitchell and made their bow in a brutal 10,000 tax match with Raven and Abyss. They were unsuccessful in it, a recurring theme as they racked up losses against LAX, Curryman and Sharkboy, Eric Young and Kaz, and Team 3D. Dustin has been very open with this time in his life and career not being a great one due to serious substance abuse issues, so I don't want to necessarily pile on here, but Black Rain was up.
That's why a lot of people give him props when he came back to go Dust All Slim, man, because he was going through a lot. He was going through hell around this time.
There with the worst of TNA, and saddling him with Relic, killer spelled backwards, in case you haven't heard TNA commentary mention it almost every 30 seconds, didn't do much, anything to
one similar to that called Reverend, I think, as well, too, outside TNA.
Prove his act. Number 1, the Johnsons. There were a number of dumb ideas on TNA's very first show. We've already covered the Dupps and the Flying Elvises. Then there was Cheeks, who performed in the pre-show dark match and was so large he broke the ring. Hey, how about Puppet, the Psycho Dwarf? All very dumb, yes, but still somehow paling in comparison to the Johnsons. That is Rod and Richard Dick Johnson, the tag team of human penises who wrestled in flesh-colored bodysuits. Portrayed by the Shane twins, later WWE's The Gemini, they didn't even play up to the gimmick properly. They were just a couple of muscular, or should that be vascular dudes who wrestled in a generic manner. The commentators didn't bother with innuendo-laden jokes about their stiff offense. Their finisher wasn't even called, I don't know, the Spunky Driver or something hilarious like that. They just showed up with Mortimer Plumtree looking like a couple of penises and beat the cobbled-together tag team of...
TNA had some wild times, though, but it did great as a kid, and they're doing just as great now. Other than that, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T signing off. One love.